Welcome back, Statliners, to Bats and Stats, presented by ScoutTheStatline.com. I am always Brian, and my friend, my co-host, Ross Jensen. Here we are. We're back at it again. Going to bring you some new content tonight. I suppose, before we get into any baseball talk, we got to talk about beers, right?
We'll talk about beers.
Let's talk about some beers. I'm going to go first. I'm pretty excited about the beer that I got tonight. This is another beer from Bridger up here in Montana. That's where the Lee Metcalf beer came from that I had in the other one, the other podcast. But this one is going to be called Bone Dust. So Bridger Bone Dust.
What kind of beer is that, Brian?
It's going to be a wheat ale, and it's fresh, orange, and bright. So they got really nice boxes, too, that they come in. Super cool boxes. Just, pretty excited about it. But here we go. We'll get the pour. We'll get the pour going.
Hey, I know how hard it was for us to get our logo put together. So I can only imagine the kind of toiling that these companies go through, the beer companies, to get their labels made. Very nice pour. Well done.
Thank you. Very, very strong smell.
Boy, that was a big gulp. That was no small drink.
Bridger doesn't disappoint, man. That's a good frickin' beer. Yeah, with an orange slice on it, that beer would be top notch. That's really good beer. 5%. So I should feel pretty good after 5 of them. So here we go.
Here we go. I noticed it's light outside there. It's almost never light in your backyard area or front yard. Is that your back or front?
That's the front yard.
Yeah, it's almost never light when we're recording the podcast. It was a little lighter last time too, but
dog days of summer, man.
Days of summer. That's right. Okay, so speaking of the dog days of summer, I went with a outdoors themed beer. It's called Two Hearted IPA. It's got a big fish on the front. What kind of fish is that?
That's a trout.
Is that a trout?
Oh, that's a trout.
Okay. Well, you're probably better at identifying fish than I am, so I'll go with it. It's from Bell's Brewing. I do not know much about this brewery. I don't think I've ever had one of their beers before, but I did pull them up here, their website up. The flavor profile, it says, is citrus, grapefruit, and pine. Pretty general sort of profile for an American IPA. Two Hearted IPA. Here's what it says about it. Bursting with refreshing hop aromas, Two Hearted is our iconic American IPA suited for adventures everywhere. As we've remarked on the show before, all of these IPAs and beers in general are going to have a very outdoorsy theme, and this is no different.
Yep.
A heavy head.
Very nice.
Okay, more beer info here while I'm letting this settle. Named after fishing waters in Michigan's Upper Peninsula, Two Hearted is an American IPA brewed and dry hopped with 100% Centennial hops. Beloved by longtime and new craft beer drinkers, Two Hearted is an iconic ale that's perfect for any occasion. 7%er, 212 calories per 12-ounce glass, so it's going to get me nice and thick in the midsection, just what I'm looking for.
I hate to break this to you, but I think I did that beer.
You did this beer?
I think so.
No.
I think so, man.
Well, that's embarrassing.
No, it's fine, because that could play. Maybe I'm going to have to start sending you beer, and you can send me beer.
Ooh,
that
like
we have done on that way we can kind of have the same pace and stuff like that. So
we got to find a place that we can order through to do that. I think that would be way easier.
Yeah, Yeah, no doubt.
I like that idea. We'll riff on that one. But
Yeah.
anyway, Two Hearted IPA, pretty solid American IPA. Yeah, don't know that I have too much more to share about it, but yeah, it's good.
Mine is absolutely delicious. Bone Dust. That is a winner.
All right.
The
Well, now
league,
we got the beers out of the way.
the beers of the pod never fail, man. Never fail. They are absolutely on point.
Well, here's the thing. I didn't make it to my normal co-op with the great selection today. So
Sure.
I went to an Albertsons and I was like, these guys just aren't doing it for me. And I like that one's labeled the most. So,
okay. So let's get into it. Let's get into the pod here. Before we get too deep into the Scout the Stat Line aspect of things, I do want to touch on our hometown league. And our hometown league, I believe we've been playing for 14 seasons. This might be 15. Or is it 14 this year?
14 seasons. We had a predecessor that ran for probably about 5 or 6 years. Not a direct correlation, but we carried over several members, and that was kind of where I guess that was the emergence of this league. So it's whatever, the roots have been laid for a long time in this one.
Yeah. So one thing I want to point out is I was the all-time losingest manager in the league, and I've been in the league since inception. But I had the the most losses of all time. But that did come with a lot of wins too. I'm almost at 500 for my career. 1,161 wins, 1,261 losses. So I got a little bit of work to do. I did make the playoffs this year. Very, very happy about making the playoffs. And Ross is the frickin' top dog in this league. He's number one in standings, and he's number one in points. I think I'm like 7th in points, and came in as the number 7 seed. So it was a good year. This is my second team. I took over a rebuilding team, and then Ross, you also took over a rebuilding team, but that was probably 3 years before I did mine. I think I'm in year 3 right now.
So the context is super important for this. You were talking about your record, and I mean, you had a pretty solid team through the early. I don't think we can call it half. It was like 2/3 of our time in this league. Yeah. So we had this league running for probably about 10 years, and no, 9 years or so. We decided we needed to go through an expansion phase. It was the league was a super success, so we wanted to grow it, make it a little more competitive. There was 2 teams that had really kind of risen to the top over that first decade. One of them was mine, and we had another owner in the league our teams were pretty dominant. So we concocted a plan to give up those teams, give them to new ownership, and take on an expansion team. And then 2 years down the road, we were going to do that with 2 more teams, and that's where Brian came in. So me and this owner, both of us had pretty strong teams. We gave up our teams, gave them to new ownership, started new expansion teams, which was a challenge for me. In that first year of expansion, I remember I had technical issues. I couldn't even draft, and that was a nightmare. So I started from scratch, 0. So I'm very proud with where the team is now. But 2 years later, Brian took over an expansion team and went through the same process. So in our league, I mean, you're decimated going through that kind of a transition, because you got these well-established teams with well-established players. We did do like a limited keeper sort of situation for the draft, but then again, like I said, I didn't even get to draft, so I missed out on all of it. But you did get a chance to pick at non-kept players. We let everyone keep their active roster. They had to choose who was going to make that cut. So I think it was a challenge. I mean, you took on a huge challenge, and there was a lot of years of struggle, just like there was for me. and that decimates your record. So there's not really much you can do about it. I'd say sitting at 500 after going through that is a feat, if anything. More context. We've, like most leagues, we've had turnover over the year. We have a good core set of owners that have been with us from the beginning, which is awesome. But we have had turnover over the years, and I think we've gotten back to a place where it's like we have an excellent group of ownership, 20 well-engaged, excellent owners. But, you know, you accumulate a lot of numbers if you've been in from the beginning. So that's where those losses really come from. I think it has nothing to do with your skill or ability as a manager.
Well, I mean, it needs to be said, because I'm not the losingest manager of all time now. So that's a huge weight off my shoulders. But, you know, something that's very impressive with this league that Ross was just saying is we have a great core of managers. We've only had 43 different managers in 14 years and at 20 teams.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
And I mean, I don't want to stay on the topic of our league for too long, because people came here to hear about prospects, not our personal league. But I do want to take a second. I was celebrating on Sunday, because on Sunday I took that second team, that expansion team, and I set a record in our league for the best regular season winning percentage of all time. Really happy about that. It was a lot of work to build that team back up. So stoked.
Yeah, he went 124, 35, and 3. So very impressive season. And I think both of us are stacked for years to come. I really honestly believe it'll be me and Ross jousting for some headliners in the near future. As along with, I mean, there's probably 5-6 teams that are just going to be beating each other up. And I feel like I'm in that zone. Ross is definitely in that zone. But anyways, I apologize. I'll get off my soapbox.
Advantage. We have the STS advantage. I mean, it's setting us apart. Really, I mean, how much credit, I don't know how much credit you feel like you've got to give to it, but I know I feel like I've got to give a lot of credit to it, because I built this up to a place where my last team was a powerhouse.
Yeah.
I built these guys up to a place that team had never been. So that took extra work, because we got a great group of people.
Yeah. It's a league to be jealous of. Not to poke your guys' leagues or anything like that, but this league really it's something to be jealous of. It's amazing. But yeah, let's get off our soapbox. I just wanted to throw those out there. I don't feel like a lot of people talk about their own teams, where I kind of wish somebody would, and that's kind of where that came from. But yeah, and enough of that. Let's move on. I'm going to let Ross kind of take this category of the show. We have an STS to update. Ross, would you like to break down the STS update?
Okay, so this is a big one, and this has impacts on our users. So I want to share it, and I want to be clear about why we're doing what we're doing. But we're going to make a transition to taking all of our leaderboard content and make it membership only content. So if you're a free subscriber, or if you're a free user of the site, we appreciate everybody that comes to our website, of course. So I don't want you to feel slighted, but we do have a very big model update. Took a lot of work coming in. And so we're phasing out the old boards. And this is an old board. There's already been upgrades to the new ones, the member ones, quite a bit. It's quite different if you look between the two. But we've got a big update coming. Took a lot of effort. So we're phasing those out. We're phasing out the free ones. So now you have to be a member if you want to have access to the leaderboards. So there are a few reasons why we chose to take that step. And the first one is our members actually wanted that. They asked for that. I feel like what we're offering is something unique in this space, and it gives people an edge, unlike what you will find out there. Really, it's very different. It's very unique. And I believe our users believe that too. So we've actually had members, and I've heard this multiple times, people coming to me and saying, I don't like that my league mates can access your leaderboards because I feel like it's a differentiator for me. So when they're looking at the free ones and they're comparing it to me, they at least glean a little bit of the edge that I feel like I'm getting. So that's a really big consideration, really important, because our number one duty is to our members. So we have to take that into consideration. The other thing is, I'm going to be honest, we have a lot of great stuff we want to bring to the table. And ultimately, to be able to do that, we have to be able to commit to the site full time. And we have a bunch of people that are just dedicating their extra spare time right now. And that's really tough. So if we can build up a stronger subscriber base, we'll be able to get there. There's other reasons too. I don't want to get into it all on the podcast and make this all a very technical one. But the big news is we have a really big model update. It's going to improve the accuracy of our results. And we're making a shift to make it more premium subscriber based. We'll still have articles that will be on the site for free. The podcast will still be for free. We're still doing this podcast for the public. So you're going to be able to glean plenty of information from us, and hopefully valuable information. But if you really want to have the edge, consider a membership.
I'm here for the people. I do it all for you guys. So I'm always going to be free. Okay. Yeah. What kind of updates are you going on in the model? It's just accuracy. Are you doing a new, is it getting a facelift? Are you putting some makeup on it?
I don't want to get into too many details. It's going to be very good, but I will tell you this. We have ways to improve our predictiveness, and we're trying to implement those into the model. So let me say this. If you're not familiar with Jordan Rosenblum and his work, he's the guy that has built the core of our model, the thing that is really at the nucleus of this whole thing. Really tremendous work, both for our pitching and for our hitting. He's worked with Eno Saris on implementing Stuff Plus in with his model and his pitching model. And that thing brings some pretty remarkable results to light. So we're not doing that because that's Eno's stuff. That's Eno's. But I'm saying there are ways that we can implement better stats, better predictiveness into our model, and that's what we're looking at doing right now, specifically for the hitters. So it's gonna be useful. It's gonna be good data. If we have good data that's coming to us or that we can get our hands on, we're going to figure out a way to weave that in.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we're working on some stuff with automation. I don't think that that's going to be ready at the time that we roll this out. I hope it is, and I wish it will be, but I'm just not sure. That would be the dream. Right now, we're just focused on getting this new chunk built into the model. So that's kind of where we're at with it. But stay tuned, because if you're a member of STS, it's going to give you another edge,
And when are you thinking this rollout's going to be coming?
So we've talked about August 25th being the last day for the free public leaderboards.
Okay.
And on the 26th, we will begin. We'll roll out the first leaderboard with the upgraded data model.
Sure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It's big news. It's a huge shift for us. And I just want to be clear, when I started this, first of all, we had no designs. And second of all, when we started thinking about putting a website together and being like, well, is this something that we can actually make a buck at? I was very steadfast and believed very strongly that going a subscriber route is the last thing we want to do. I wanted to keep this thing absolutely free, and I want to be really clear about that. But in the way that our world operates right now, it's just not very feasible, especially with the type of product that we're offering. And I think that's become more clear to me over time, because at first it's like, well, we can explore other options, and it's like we just don't have the ability to do that. And look, if you're a user and you really like STS and you think it's giving you an advantage, are you going to go shout from the mountaintops, hey, I found this new site, STS, like go to it? That's how you end up getting millions of people viewing your site, and then you can monetize it through advertising or something like that. We're not going to get that, because if I was a user, I would be like, oh, I'm not going to tell my league mates about that one.
Yeah.
I'm just going to go use it, So we don't have a great model for that kind of way to raise money. And I wish we did, because I would like to keep it free. But hey, we're talking about $5. It's $5.
Yeah.
We're doing it as good as we can.
No, I love it. I think it's great. I know a lot of people are going to be really happy about it, and there's going to be a few people that are going to be either sad or mad. But I know a lot of people are going to be really happy about it. That it's not just right at your fingertips. Because like you said,
a little more club related. And at the end of the day, I should say at the very beginning of this, we said we wanted to create a community and build a community. The community is alive and thriving on like that Discord and on Twitter. So it is there. It is already established. And I mean, come join that community. $5. That's all it takes.
Yeah. I hear you. Okay, cool. I like it. So August 25th, that's a really good time too, because we're going to start rolling into the end of the season, end of minor league season. Obviously, you have your charts on here now. You had at least a full year of prospects that you could jump in here and see. So that's going to be a really good time to roll into that brick wall that you're going to be putting up.
Yeah, and there's a couple other things that I want to say without over promising too much. We're gonna do football. We're probably gonna do basketball as well. I can't state much about those because I don't know when they're going to be ready. I don't know, we got a lot of work to do to get those into ready states, and not a lot of time. So I'll just say it'll be ready when it's ready. And we're not going to roll it out before it's going to be helpful and useful and give an advantage. But those are things that we're trying to bring to the forefront, because we do want to give people, in addition to our great off-season content that we'll be doing, Brian, and I'm sure other contributors around STS will be chipping in as well. But in addition to that, we want to give people a real tangible reason why they want to stick around with STS all year round. And football is the big easy one, because we roll right into football season. So I think it would be big. I think it's a challenge, and we're up for the challenge. We're going to figure out how to make it happen.
Sure. Secrets are popping out. I love it. All right. With that, me and Ross were chatting just a little bit before the pod came on, discussing what kind of things do we want to talk about. He did mention to me that he tweeted about something that I missed. I didn't see the tweet, but I'm going to give him the floor to discuss the Core 4.
All right. So we're going back to our off-season content. We're going to talk about some prospects today. So there are 4 guys that I'm really interested in talking about, and hopefully we don't spend an hour talking about each one of these guys, because I easily could. But I call them my Core 4. And these are the 4 guys that I am heavily targeting in every league. They're not the only guys I'm targeting. I want the best prospects. There's no doubt about it. But these 4 to me have something special. It's like a combination of they're undervalued just enough. They check all the boxes for me, and they're just great talents. Mm-hmm. So you combine all those together, I think they're the right values. I'm going to try to get these guys. Some are going to be a little more expensive than others, but I think they're all obtainable right now. So how do you want me to go about doing this? You want me to just spout out what the Core 4 is and then talk to the player?
You can break them down one by one. You can go all 4, however you want to do it.
Okay. The first one I'm going to mention I think I should do this by STS ranking. I don't know if I have this in the right order, but the first one is Ryan Clifford. So, what do you know about Ryan Clifford? Do you know much about him?
I know Ryan Clifford is, let's see, he is, I just looked at him, number 26 on the big board for STS. I also know his stats, but I'm going to let you go ahead and spout them off.
Okay. So Ryan Clifford is a really interesting case. He was a guy that I had kind of honed in on years ago, actually. And then this coming draft, he had signed a commitment with Vanderbilt, was expected to go to college, did not get drafted until the 11th round of the draft, but then ended up signing for second round money. So there was some, I don't know, there was some kind of agreement, it seems like, with him and the Astros to be able to nab him that late. He was expected to be a first or second round pick before his commitment to Vanderbilt. So they scored a really good deal in the 11th round. And he's surprised everybody. And that surprises me that he has surprised everybody because he came in with such a heavy bat reputation. But right now on STS, he projects for, last I checked, it was 28 home runs.
Yep.
And among all players that project for 28 or more home runs, he is the guy that projects for the highest WRC plus overall. So really talented bat. When he started the year, he was taking a lot of walks, putting up very big OBP numbers in the single A level, earned himself a promotion. The power wasn't quite there yet. And I'd sent out a tweet being like, the power will come, and then he got promoted to high A. Plate discipline hasn't been quite as strong, but the power has all of a sudden showed up, and he's slugging. He's a really good ball player. I'd like to get him wherever I can.
He did get traded. He got traded from the Astros to the Mets in the Verlander trade.
Yeah, and the Mets were probably the team that I think did the best work during the trade deadline.
Yep. I think a lot of people would agree with that.
Yeah, they did the deals they needed to, and they got some really under the radar talent like Ryan Clifford.
Yeah. I'm a big fan of Ryan Clifford. I knew about him. I was excited for him. I apologize I missed the tweet because I would have liked and retweeted that. Oh, it's not a tweet anymore. I apologize. It's not a tweet anymore. It's a post.
It's an X. I don't know.
It's an X. Who is number 2? I want to call these guys like better than the core 4 or something. I want to call them like the Riders of the Apocalypse or something. I don't know. I'm going back to my X-Men days.
Fantastic Four.
Yeah. It's okay. It's okay. Let's go to the next one.
Okay. So the next one on the list, again, I'm going by memory. I don't have this up, but I'm going on memory on who I think is the top ranked by STS in order. I think the next one is Cole Young.
I think it's Gabriel Gonzalez. Cole Young's actually ahead of Ryan Clifford.
Oh, he's ahead of him now. See, okay. Cole Young. We're going Cole Young. He's ahead of Ryan Clifford. So that tells you he's pretty good. Is he one spot above him?
No, he's quite a bit. He's at ranked 21st. Clifford is 26th.
Okay, so Cole Young is a guy that I just really like. He's playing for this team right here in their minor league affiliates, at least. He came in. He was a first-round pick last year, and he has shown really good plate discipline this year, all year round. And he earned himself. He's another one of those guys. Like he was not showing a lot early on. It was just kind of good eye, decent hitting, not much power. It started showing up at single A finally, and then he was promoted. He went to high A, and a little hoppier ball there, but like he's been mashing. Shorter porch, maybe that's what it is. It's a shorter porch where he's at. But he has been mashing unbelievably since he got promoted. So still on the season at both levels and overall, more walks than strikeouts. Huge deal for me. I love that in a player. a young player coming up, especially. So 465 slugging. He's an uber talent, I think.
He has jumped 31 spots in the last 30 days, 7 in the last 14, and 6 in the last 7 days.
He really likes that ballpark he's playing in, I think.
Yeah.
I've seen some of the dink that fence there. It's pretty short.
He's pretty hot right now. Cole Young, everyone. And your third?
Okay, so we already touched on this guy, Gabriel Gonzalez. I think he's the next in the list. Gabriel Gonzalez is a guy we talked about in the offseason. We said this guy's going to be a huge breakout this year. And he is kind of, I mean, he is a huge breakout. Like, he's putting up some eye-popping numbers, but I feel like the mainstream is still not picking up on him. And I've heard some critiques about his athleticism out there. And that's something that I'm kind of like, well, you know, I've seen him. He looks like a fairly normally built baseball player. So I don't know that I am seeing what other people are seeing, but he's got some eye-popping stats on the season. He's batting .320 with a .377 OBP and a .519 slugging percentage. He's hit a slump recently.
Yep.
But like Cole Young, he was promoted from single A to high A. And once he got to high A, he had like a day where he hit a bomb for like 5 days in a row. So he looks like he's hit a wall since then, not hitting a lot. His plate discipline is a little sketchy since then, but still really good numbers overall in the season. I love this guy. I think he's got a great bat.
Couldn't agree more. I do remember talking about him in the offseason, and he was one of our darlings that we thought was going to be on a rocket ship to the moon, baby, past the moon and straight to Mars.
That's why you got to listen to STS.
Yes, sir.
Tip you off last off season. So now I'm finding like it depends on the owner, right? Some guys are holding on to this guy like he's gold and you cannot get him. And I've encountered that a couple times, but other guys are pretty open to dealing with him. And that's mostly because I don't think most mainstream outlets are giving him much showtime. So
I would say Cole Young and Ryan Clifford right now. Maybe not so much Clifford because he has been in the spotlight with the Verlander trade. I think people have really opened their eyes to him right now. But I would say Cole Young, Ryan Clifford, a little bit more attainable than Gabriel Gonzalez.
Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Now, the last member of the core four is going to be the least obtainable of all the core four, but nonetheless, he is a critical component of this, and that's Roman Anthony. And the reason I say he is the least obtainable is because the hype machine is on Roman Anthony right now. I'm okay with it because I think the talent is there. And every time I think the talent matches up with the hype, then I'm okay with it. It's when the hype and the talent, when I say talent, I'm talking about the numbers. I should be clear about that because that means something different to other people. But when the numbers are not there to match what people are saying, the hype, then to me, that's when I kind of balk at it. But this guy, I think, has the numbers that match the hype. Am I going to pay top 10 prices for him? Probably not. That's probably one of the ones where I let him get away if somebody's asking for a top 10 equivalent in the prospect world. But if you can get him for top 50, I think this is a guy you push for.
Yeah, he's certainly rising up the rankings very quickly. Everybody knows this name now,
and it's been quite the ascent because a month ago, maybe a month and a half ago, I would have thought that there was a lot of people that didn't really think much of Roman Anthony.
Yeah,
so it's worth detailing his season too because he came in single A and it just was The way that I've heard it put is that he was not hitting. And I kind of feel like the hits just weren't falling for him early on. He only put up a 228 batting average at single A, only a 317 slugging percentage, 1 home run. So those numbers are not much to write home about. Showed excellent plate discipline, though. 38 walks, 38 strikeouts. The Red Sox saw something in him nonetheless. They promoted him to high A. And like Cole Young that we were talking about earlier, he's been mashing, but even more so. And since he got promoted in 35 games, so this is not a small sample, he's had a 661 slugging percentage, has hit 11 more home runs, still showing excellent plate discipline. The guy's on a rocket ship. He's going straight to the top.
Yep. The nice or the biggest chain link that I can see to link all these guys together as I'm looking at them, they're all 19. They've all been recently promoted from single A to high A, and they all look like they're going to debut 2025.
Yeah, and I don't know that I have I don't know if I thought intentionally about, why I consider these guys my core four. I like what I'm seeing with them. I think that they're still affordable enough by and large. And so they're just the guys that I want to get, because I think by the time that they are coming up, they're going to be in the top 10, all of them.
So, I like it. So some historical comps on these young gentlemen. Cole Young's got a historical comp of Ken Henderson. Does he ring a bell for you?
I did look up Ken Henderson just after noticing that myself. Did he play for the Orioles? He played for the Giants, so I'm way off. I mean, he's a little before my time, but he looks like he was a pretty good ball player.
The second comp, and that would be for Ryan Clifford, is, and I'm sure I'm pronouncing this wrong, but Phil Plantier.
Phil Plantier. That's a new name. Plantier.
Plantier.
Even 97. Now that's an interesting one because I don't know him. I should know him. He did have a season where he hit 34 bombs. Huh.
Look there.
But
Roman Anthony has got a comp of Fernando Tatis, and that is not junior. That is old man Tatis.
Fernando Tatis is the only player, or up to that point, I don't think anyone's done it since, but the only player to hit 2 grand slams in 1 inning. I'd
like to be a part of that group.
Yeah.
And the
McGuire cards.
And Gabriel Gonzalez's comp is Moises Alou, Alou.
I do remember Moises Alou. He was a masher for the Astros. That's a good one. I don't like those first two so much for those guys, but Moises Alou, that's a good solid comp.
Yeah.
Listen to this career slash line: 303 batting average, 369 OBP, 516 slugging, 332 career home runs. He was just a masher.
That's a good ball player.
Good ball player. That was that Astros team from the late 90s that they were always winning like 100 games. They never really get that far in the playoffs, but they were pretty good there for a stretch.
Love it. I love it. That's probably my favorite part of STS is those comps. It just it puts a smile on my face every time I look at the comps.
Makes you run through a little baseball history. I like that.
Yeah, and for someone like me, because I did go through a spell, especially through my high school days, where I didn't watch any baseball. I was not a baseball fan. Even in my early college years, I had no care for baseball. I was all about football and basketball. So there is a stretch in there that I don't know a lot of names. So this helps me kind of bring the past into the present, and I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Well, there's the core four, everybody. If you want to have a fantasy baseball team like Mr. Ross R. Jensen, you got to go get those four guys. Those are all go get 'ems.
The core four. Go
Core
get 'em.
four.
The core four. You can't let the core four break apart. You got to keep them together.
Awesome. I have a couple of guys, and this is going to be a new segment that I'd like to bring into the podcast, and I'm just going to call it a pretty basic spotlight of the pod. And I started with one guy, but I'm going to add another. So I'm going to start with a name that just popped up today. And I didn't know this name. I had to kind of dive into him to even figure out who he was, because when you look at the STS model, he doesn't have any rankings because he didn't have enough bats to qualify. But Mr. Dylan O'Ray, and that's O''RAE, just debuted in the STS model, I believe today. Dylan O'Ray is, I don't know, not an anomaly, but it's just not. I'm good at knowing names. I'm really good at knowing these guys, and I had no clue who this guy was. Bear with me. There's an ad.
Boards you look at, you're gonna filter out some guys, and that's one thing we don't do at STS. I mean, you can filter it all you want, but like, we're not gonna filter guys out. We're gonna run them through the model, and they're gonna be spit out. You're always gonna see these guys. I love that about it.
So the gist of Dylan O'Ray that I've come across today is Dylan O'Ray. He's 5'7". He's 160 pounds. He's 19 years old. He is playing in the rookie league. He's only got 153 at bats. He debuted last year. Got 26 at bats last year, and then he has 127 this year. He was drafted in the third round, overall 102 by the Milwaukee Brewers out of Canada. And this is an interesting little tidbit that I found on MSN. Dylan O'Ray, an infielder on the Canadian junior national team, became the country's first player selected in the 2022 Major League Baseball first-year player draft, having his name called by the Milwaukee Brewers in the third round, 102 overall Monday. So, hey, he's Captain Canada at this point. So just breaking down his stats, and I'm going to lump them together, last year's and this year's. He's got 153 at bats, no home runs, doesn't appear to have much power, but the stolen bases are there. He has 31 stolen bases. His average is 353. His on-base percentage is 505, bringing his OPS up to 897. This, to me, is eye-popping, and I love every second of Dylan O'Ray. Do you have anything to kind of add on top of that?
No, I don't think so. I don't know that I've fully bought into Dylan O'Ray, but this is the kind of profile that you could see like a Luis Arraez come from, right? Yeah. Pretty easily. And maybe with speed, Yeah. I don't know. The power, that's the one part that I'm questioning. Like, what is he? Is he a slap hitter, or is he, and can he be successful as that kind of slap hitter? Maybe he can't, There's other players that have found a niche doing that. So like, that's my one curiosity here. But those numbers are pretty ridiculous.
Yeah. I mean, he's walked 38 times and he's only struck out 23 times.
You wonder if there's some regression coming in at some point, but a 520 OBP, oh man, 362 batting average this season. It's pretty absurd. Yeah.
And that's really why I wanted to call this segment, and I'll come up with a better name, guys, I promise. But the spotlight of the pod, these guys aren't going to be go-get-ems, okay? This is somebody that you start putting your spotlight on, that you start really looking at. Keep them in the back of your mind. Add them to your queue list, however you want to put it. Guys that are popping up that are going to be dirt cheap. Like, nobody knows Dylan O'Ray. He replicates anything like this next year in in single A ball, like he's going to be on a freaking rocket ship. This is somebody that you can go get, now for nothing. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know why I'm thinking so heavily of like Wade Meckler right now.
Yeah, I am too.
He's got more speed than Meckler, at least on the base paths, stolen base speed. But Meckler's also in AAA, so there's a little bit of a difference there. But
yeah,
I don't want to miss those guys.
Yeah,
I want those guys. I really do. If you're in a deeper league, you should too.
No. Yeah.
If you're in a shallow league, maybe not. But
Yeah, completely agree. But if you have a minor league draft that starts at the beginning of next season, this would be somebody that you could throw at the end of your queue and get him with your last pick because he's going to be available.
Right. And
unless people start listening to us, and then he's going to be, gone instantly.
We are getting the SDS effect. I saw this interesting. I did see this interesting thing that somebody was. I guess it was a snapshot of somebody saying they had a league mate that was picking up some of their guys, and they said when they Googled them, like the top 4 results were like STS people speaking about certain players. So there is a bit of that effect out there. Believe it or not, it exists. It shocks me, but it's out there.
Yeah. So here it is, guys. Dylan O'Ray, man. I'm excited for him. The next one, and I suppose this is kind of counterintuitive of what I just said of I want to spotlight guys that nobody's really going to know about, but I want to talk about it. And that's Jett Williams.
Yeah.
Man, Jett Williams, he's exciting. I really like Jett Williams. So Jett Williams, I'll break it down real quick. He's a smaller guy. He's 5'6". He's 175 pounds. Once again, 19 years old. He was a first rounder last year by the New York Mets. Round 1, pick 14 overall out of Rockwall Heath, Texas. Do you have anything that you want to talk about Jett Williams before I break down the stats? Because I love this guy.
I'll just say this. He's probably one of the guys that could have been in the core 4. I think he's just on the precipice for me. He's close. He has a lot of the same attributes. He's a burner. But the one thing that holds him back for me is, well, really that he started this season as a top 100 prospect, at least by Baseball America, Baseball Prospectus. He was kind of on the outskirts of that top 100. So it's that he's already got some notoriety that I'm not putting him that high, but this guy's a talent. I'm with you. And he's right there for me. He was real close. I've tried to trade for him. Trust me.
So this is going to be along the same lines of the core 4 that Ross was talking about. He's 19 years old. He started out single A this year. He's already been promoted to high A. He's got 317 at-bats in his minor league career, batting .252 with a .423 on-base percentage. Wowzas. And his OPS is .843. Not a big home run guy, but he does have 8 in his minor league career and 317 at-bats. He's got 15 doubles, 3 triples. He walks a lot. He walked 82 times and then only struck out 89 times. And of course, those stolen bases, he's got 42 of them. He's only been caught stealing 7 times. He is a burner, so that is a perfect name for Mr. Jett Williams.
Yeah, light the ignition. Time to take off. I don't know. There's 100 different Jett sort of jokes we could tell.
Yeah. I'm all in on Jett Williams. To me, he's a go get him. I don't care. I gotta have him. Jett Williams is awesome.
Go get him.
Go get him. So those are my 2 spotlights for the pod. I'm going to make that a thing from now on. I think that's going to be a fun segment. I'd like them to be a little bit more unknown than Jett Williams, like a Dylan O'Ray, because I'd like to be ahead of the curve. So you guys can be the first on the boat.
Or the airplane, or the jet.
Or the rocket ship to Mars.
Or the rocket ship.
Oh boy, we really went off the rails there. With that, that's what I have for the pod tonight, guys. One last thing that I'd like to mention is we'd like to expand this thing. I want this to be a lot of fun for everybody listening, for everybody watching. Obviously, we do the beer of the pod. We're going to start doing the spotlights. I would love to hear your guys' opinions of what else you'd like. If you have something that you want us to talk about, please, throw a comment out there. You can always reach us on Twitter. I'm at Brian59044. Ross, your Twitter handle?
At Ross Jensen 12.
Please, any kind of user questions that you guys have, we would love to have the feedback. One thing that we do want to attempt to do, I suppose, is try to get some minor leaguers on the pod. Maybe a guy like Dylan O'Ray to kind of bring his name to the forefront, or a Jett Williams, or Ryan Clifford. Just to name a few guys. We'd love to talk to those kind of guys and just bring their names to everybody's attention, and get them a little bit of exposure, and go from there. So that's something that we want to work on. I don't know how we're going to get there yet.
Well, it's interesting that you mention it, because I think that would be fascinating to have some conversations with those guys and just get their experience. I mean, we're very data heavy at STS, obviously. I'd love to dig into the numbers a little bit just to see if it's something that they think about or they cue into at all. But I am primarily interested in hearing about the experience. That would be a lot of fun. I think it would be unique for the podcast. So I love that idea.
Yeah. Agreed. With that, guys, there's our episode, and we'll see everybody real soon.